Everybody. I just have a request and a thought about something that can be done to help heal this split with Shanti Christo and the vision of the channel for the Way of Mastery, JM. People are probably familiar with this. The basic idea is that Shanti Christo is presenting the pathway they're publishing a book and they're calling it The Way of Mastery, though it only is a small percentage of the pathway. So people get the idea, hey, this is the whole thing, and they miss out on the rest. And there's also this idea that by presenting a part of something as the whole, that it's creating a distortion. It even says, I believe, in the Course in Miracles that that's the way the dream of separation is created, is by presenting the parts of something and saying it's the whole. So we're trying to heal, not create additional separation. And that's why it's been important for me and a lot of other people for a long time to try to reach out to the board of Shanti Christo. And I don't have any sense of blame or judgment about what they're doing. I just think they've been put in a position where they don't have the whole story. I received the message in 2002 in which JM was asked to leave the board. For example, it's within a certain context. And no one on the board was there at that time. They're all newbies, relatively speaking. And so I think they're good-hearted and they're wanting to do the right thing. They're wanting to represent Jeshua's work. But just as one example, the book they're publishing, the Way of the Heart, Way of the Transformation, Way of Knowing, under one volume, Joshua asked that not be done under one volume because people read ahead and you're supposed to do the Way of the Heart before starting the Way of Trans or the Way of Knowing. Eventually there may be some benefit, right? There might be some benefit to having the material out there because it wasn't available in any other way. I'm personally really grateful that they published the Blue Book in the 2000s. And 2010s too. But at some point, I think it needs to be addressed if they're doing it in a way that Joshua asked them not to. Let's see, that has to be corrected at some point, I would think. And the other thing is presenting a pathway which has 4 essential parts and only presenting 20% of one of those parts, or if you include the early years, which they always also sell, 50% maybe of those essential parts. The channeled part of the Way of Mastery, and calling it the whole is a distortion which I think in time is appropriate to correct. It feels like the pathway and the popularity of the pathway is going to expand pretty dramatically in the near future. So it feels like now is a really important time to get things in place so that when that expands, there doesn't need to be a major correction, at a later date, and where the majority of the students who are going to be coming to this pathway receive the pathway in its fullness instead of in just a fragment. So one of the things I've found is that I've been given some feedback that the foundation thinks they're doing the right thing. They're not really interested in hearing points of view. We've reached out to them. I and others have reached out to them for many years now, to try to just say, hey guys, I think that you don't have all the information here. And I think if you did, you'd be probably doing something differently because I believe they're dedicated servants of Jeshua. So one thing, this is a request of you, if you care about the Way of Mastery and if you care about healing this split as well, just take some time, go to their website if you would, and just if you feel like there's value in the whole pathway and presenting the whole pathway instead of just part of it, I'd ask if you would share this with them and ask that they please consider presenting the entire pathway instead of just a fragment of it. I really feel it's important not to say, hey, you guys are doing something wrong, because that's not even practicing the principles of the pathway, right? Only holy perfection is arising. So if they've been doing this, it must be holy perfection, right? So but there's also this evolution into greater healing, greater integration. My vision is the two kind of strands have gone in 2 different directions, creating different things. The foundation has created this great structure for publishing things and has been very efficient with it in many ways. I think they do a good job in a lot of that. But their content is off. And that's just the truth. That's just the fact of the pathway. And the way it's being presented is off too. And it's not a judgment. It's just a let's get together. Let's be better together. We can do more together than we can separately for sure. We're strong, united. And I just have this vision of this integration of the amazing material that JM's brought through in the last 20 years post channeling the trilogy, and the structures that the Shanti Christo Foundation has created. And this could really be this unity that would really help strengthen everything and all the students, people's exposure to the pathway, people's experience of the pathway. And I think as importantly as anything, they're receiving the entirety of it, not just a part. It's not like I have this, the way I look at it, it's not like, oh, I use the analogy of soup, right? Like if you're 4 essential ingredients to soup, if you don't have all 4 ingredients, it's not the soup. Well, it's the same way. It's not that there are 4 different meals or 4 different soups or whatever, and you can kind of get some from this and get some from that. And it's more like the Way of Mastery is one recipe, one thing, all interconnected. That's what JM says. And he's the channel after all. And in my experience of being with the pathway since 1995, having 9 sessions with him from 1995, with Joshua, 1995 till 2004, and then seeing and experiencing and facilitating the living practices, which include radical inquiry, the Aramaic Beatitudes, love, breath, and so on. I mean, there's a clear deepening of the pathway in the living practices and Aramaic Beatitudes. And then awareness of the land project's really important, awareness of the fact that there's a group of teachers who are stepping into roles as facilitators, and some parts of the pathway really, really require that. Wouldn't it be wonderful, beautiful, share this vision, wouldn't it be beautiful to have it all integrated? And a reflection of the inner integrity of the pathway. As Joshua said in a channeling, it came through me a while back, he said, anyone who's sincerely in service to me needn't worry about there being a split, because there's no split in him. And so let's reflect that unity in our own relationships, in our own integration of this pathway. And just an invitation, everybody, to reach out, please, respectfully, no judgment, respectfully, with gratitude even, to Shanti Christo, and just say, thank you so much for your dedicated service. And it's so important. It's so important to have the whole pathway presented to students. The goal is 200 people writing to them. Go to their website, find the contact information, and email them. And please have it be respectful and loving. And these are beings who are our friends and allies in truth. And let's share the vision of the entirety of the pathway and invite them to be those who present that both energetically and in what they present to the public. Thank you for listening. Again, please, in service to the pathway, if you would go to Shanti Christo Foundation, that's it, right? ShantiChristo.com, rather. Find a contact information and just write a respectful email saying how much you benefited from the pathway, the whole pathway, not just the trilogy, and how essential the interconnected part of all aspects of the pathway is. Thanks for listening.